Hi, good afternoon. My name is Michael Lewis. I'm the executive chef here at MetLife in Hanover. I wanted to say hello and hopefully show you how to make something today that is a great recipe that I've been making for years and really love. Something a little bit different, something that's maybe not the entree or the appetizer, but let's finish up the meal with a nice slice of pumpkin bread. So what we're going to do is we've got half a cup of oil, and we're going to put it in a larger bowl. We're going to throw the wet stuff in a larger bowl, because then we're going to add the dry to it. The dry stuff can be smaller. Then we've got a third of a cup of water, all right? And then we've got 2 eggs, and then we've got 1.5 cups of sugar. And then we're going to mix this together. And I know some people might say the sugar, that's not a wet ingredient. But what ends up happening is all the other ingredients melt to sugar, and that's going to help the sugar mix in really well. If you put that in with the dry stuff and then you put it in, you might get some, it will be kind of a little grainy, it will be a little crystally when you make it. So what happens is, if you can see it, I've got these together, and the sugar very quickly is going to dissolve. It's like you'd be putting in tea or anything else. The wet dissolves it. Okay, we'll mix that together. And then we're going to add our pumpkin. And again, then we'll mix that all together. I like to mix everything together before the thickness of the pumpkin. That way, again, like I said, the sugar gets dissolved, it mixes in well. And I do the wet before I do the dry, because that way it gives a little extra time for the sugar to dissolve. Take the dry ingredients, we're going to put the flour in first, and then I'm going to add the other seasonings that are the dry ingredients, and we're going to put them together. It lightens it up, it breaks up the flour and the dry ingredients, and then it also helps take all those little bits of the nutmeg and the cinnamon that I've got, and it takes it and it blends it in well with the flour. So I've got 3.5 cups of flour. Put that in there. Okay. And then I've got some baking soda. It's going to be 1 teaspoon of baking soda. I've got 1 teaspoon, or excuse me, 3/4 of a teaspoon of iodized salt. I have 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and then I have 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. And then I put that in there. All this stuff, I'll just give it a little sift. Let this come out. So I have my wet, I have my dry. We are going to mix that together. We're going to not over mix it, but it's not like a delicate kind of recipe that like doing a type of cake batter or sponge cake or whatever. It's very hearty, it works really well, and it's easy to make. So now I've got my wet. I mix that up a little bit. All the sugar is dissolved. I'm going to take my dry now, and I'm going to just start mixing it in. Some recipes that are like more delicate when you're folding in the flour and stuff, it calls for you putting it in different stages. I do the same thing. That way you get a little bit easier, get a little less on the lumps. Sometimes you get some lumps when you're adding dry to wet. As you can see here, about the consistency of it. A little bit thicker than like what you might do if you have a pancake batter. Okay? What we're going to do now is we're going to add the chocolate chips to it, and then we're going to put it in the pans, and we're going to bake it. We're going to bake this, and you can make different forms of this. You can make cupcakes, you can make muffins basically. We're gonna make a couple different things. We're gonna do muffins, we're gonna do loaves, like a pound cake, and then we're also gonna show you and put it in like a shallow cake pan, do a small cake. Okay, so like I said, we're gonna make some cupcakes, we're gonna make a loaf, and we're gonna do a cake, all right? What we do, you can use different things. You can use butter, you can use a spray like I've got, like pan, and we're just gonna lightly coat the pans. It works really well. A little spray, it doesn't do a lot. So what I've got here is I've got a scoop. One scoop should be good for each cupcake. You want to go maybe 4/5 of the way because it's going to rise. Alright, there we have our cupcake. One thing to also consider when you do this, anytime you make something that's using a chemical leavener that baking soda is or baking powder would be, you want to let it, after it's mixed together, sit for maybe about 20 minutes before you put it in the oven. You want that leavener to start activating. Put it too soon, it might not rise as well. So we're going to take some of this and we're going to put it in our pan. So I'll get these in the oven and we'll see in a little bit, all right? We're going to be baking about 20 minutes. Our little mini muffins look pretty good. They've got a nice dome to them, nice color. I'm going to take the pick, go right in the middle. I see a little bit of chocolate, but otherwise it's clean. So I would say these muffins are done. Cracked a little bit, okay? So it's domed up, and we're just gonna take it, and we're gonna put our pick in, and it comes clean. That's all we want. You also sometimes see that it pulls away a little bit from the sides when it's almost done as well. So that's looking good. We'll let that go for a little while. Let these cool up. Alright, so we've got our mini muffins, or cupcakes if you like to put it, our pumpkin loaf, and we got a sheet that we can use for a cake. So I've got my cream cheese frosting here. It's not a real thick one, but it's very good, very tasty, delicious. And what we're going to do is this. You can do a couple different ways. We can take our glaze, or frosting, pour it over top. It's good if you have a baker's rack. That way, if it runs over, it's not all over everywhere. You just let it set up. And with something like this, it would be a good idea to take it and refrigerate it for a little while before you serve it. It should set up, but it's going to be a little bit more like a glaze. Alright, got that. And then what we can do here with our cupcakes, we take them, dip them in it, and let those set up as well. So I hope everybody would love to try these. The recipe is going to be attached, and everybody enjoy. See you soon.